Hello again, it's Richard. Thanks for taking a look in. This practice is pretty much aimed at loosening up the hip joints. They get really tight, particularly if we're not very mobile in our lives, whatever we do, or even if we're too mobile, if we're a runner, if we're a cyclist, or we do a lot of that forwards, backwards movement, the hips can get really tight. So I'm going to start off in a seated position. So make your way down onto your mat. And then we're going to start in the posture I'm in. That's probably a bit too much to start the class off. What we're going to do is sit on our bums, take our feet in front of us. So the feet are hip width apart, nice and parallel, lean back on our arms, and just allow the knees to rock from side to side. So this is a really nice way to soften your hips up. And you can experiment with whereabouts your feet are. But the intention really is to roll onto the outside edges of the feet and then the inside edges. Try to keep the sit bones almost grounded, and think about the femurs in the hip sockets, moving gently side to side. Obviously, any of these movements, if they're too much for you, then don't do them. Be compassionate with your body, your movements. Don't force it. It's not worth it. Okay. So I'm going to try and introduce some movements here which are good to open our hips up before the practice, and then we'll get up onto our feet in due course. So once you've gently moved your hips from side to side, let's straighten the legs out, do a little bit of a sit bone shuffle. So shuffling forwards, get your pelvis rotating forwards, and then shuffling backwards, and then forwards, and then backwards, feeling the sit bones come side to side. Okay, and then bring your left knee up towards your chest. Squeeze it in a little bit, wrap your right arm around that knee. Take your left hand behind to almost push your body forward so you're nice and straight through the spine. A very gentle twist, turning around, looking over towards your left shoulder. Not forgetting to pull your right toes up. Hold for a couple of breaths. And release. We go again on the other side. So drawing up the other knee as high as you can get it, closest to the chest as you can. Wrapping your arm around that knee and pulling it in. And almost leaning forwards towards that knee as you prop your spine up with that right hand. Turn and look back towards your right shoulder. Just noticing how you feel in these twists. This very early into this sequence of movements, and you might find you've got some restrictions somewhere in your spine and your back. Okay, so not really going too deep with these movements. Again, a little bit of shuffle here to keep that movement through the hips. Draw your soles of the feet together, draw your heels up, and then hands onto your knees as you lift the knees up and down, just flutterbine, butterflying through the hips here. And then slowly come down onto your lower back, come into a happy baby. So bending the knees, reaching up, grabbing hold of your ankles or your inner arches or your toes. Pull the feet down towards the floor, find some compression in the hips, and gently rock from side to side. Feel that nice, calming, massaging effect in your lower back. Can rest your head on the floor if that's more comfortable for you. Feeling that compression in your hip joints, building up the pressure here. And then release, take the feet to the floor, bringing the heels close to the bottom, pull the tummy button down into the spine as you flatten the lower back, head and shoulders on the floor, arms are released down the side, and then gently push the pelvis upwards, driving the feet into the floor, and then slowly lower down. So we're not going really high here, just go to that point of tension in our bodies as far as we comfortably can go, and then come back down. Do 4 of these. Feeling your way through the movement. Keeping your navel pulled in if you can through the movement. This will give you that degree of strength in your lower back. Once you've done 4 of those, drop your pelvis to the floor, draw your knees up to your chest. Reach up and grab hold of your knees and squeeze and release your knees here. And we'll drop the right foot to the floor, keep hold of the left leg and draw the left thigh in towards the chest. The knee can be bent here, and then slowly straighten the leg and release. So there's a few extensions of the leg here, holding the thigh, bring the knee in towards the chest, and then extending the leg to that point of tension. And once you've done a few of those, pull it in, hold it, pull the toes into the shin, maybe walk the hands a little bit further up the leg, gently pull the leg forwards, find that tension through the back of the hamstrings, loosen any of the stickiness in the connective tissue. And then we let that foot come to the floor. Can you do this with the head and shoulders on the floor if it's more comfortable for you? And we go again on the other side. So bringing the knee up into the chest, and then with the hands on the thigh, on the back of the thigh, extending and flexing, just loosening off any stickiness around the back of the knee, letting the muscles lengthen and the connective tissue soften. Once you've done that a few times, lengthening, extending that leg, walk the hands up, a gentle little pull and release, just to stretch through the hamstrings, and pulling the toes back as well. Okay, and then back roll again up to seated. So roll it up your back, up your spine, or make your way up to a seated position. Come up to seated position, extending the right leg, bending through the left knee, and bring the sole onto the inner thigh. And then if your knee's up here, if you really tighten your glutes and your rotators, that's fine. That's fine. Just let the knee gravitate naturally where it goes. Walk your hands forwards, a gentle forward bend, not rounded through the back, but instead of keeping the chest quite high, just gently coming into a point of tension, wherever that is in your body. You might find it in the back of the straight leg. You might find it in the hip. You might find it a little bit of pull in the lower back. Just go into the wherever that is for you. Breathing nice and softly. And then come out like that. We change over to lean back, straight through the left leg, bend the right knee. And again, just walking the hands forwards a little bit, keeping the chest quite high, just coming to wherever the body feels tension, staying here, breathing softly into that tension. It's almost calibrating our breath and our nervous system to breathe softly when we find stress. Starting early on in a class is really quite useful because you get into that rhythm, that cadence of tension, breathe slowly. And come back. Lean back, bend the knees, and we do a couple more windscreen wipers here. Keep the hips moving. We're going to stretch into, we're going into some static postures and then coming back into some dynamic movements. It's a great way to soften through the body. Okay, and then back to a seated position again, soles of the feet together, hands on top of your ankles, and a few little butterflies here. Okay, come on onto the fronts now. And now we've got a bit of mobility in our hips. Take the knees out to the edges of the mat, join the big toes together, and come to an extended forward bend here. So reaching the top to the top corners of the mat with the hands, lower your chest towards the mat, feeling that compression in your hips and breathing deep down into your tummy area. And as you release, soften the body, let the body gently release to the floor. Just taking a few soft, steady breaths here. And look up between the hands, come up onto your knees, bring your knees hip width apart. Slowly lower down to the floor, to your fronts, tops of the feet on the mat, hands either side of the rib cage. A very gentle cobra now, elbows tucked into the sides of the body, looking down at the floor. Slowly bringing the chest away, looking down at the floor still. A little bit of pressure into the mat with the hands. Try to keep the spine nice and straight, so keeping the head in line with the spine, gazing down at the mat, releasing your bottom, your glutes, and release to the floor. Now with the breath, next breath in, we do exactly the same. So we breathe in, lift up, breathe out, come down. And carry on with the breath here. Breathing in, drawing the chest away to that point of tension. Breathing out, releasing to the floor. Breathing in, lift it up. Breathing out to the floor. And one more. Breathe in, lift up. Breathe out to the floor. Push up onto your knees and back into a child pose with the knees hip width apart. So lengthening through the spine now, just creating a little bit of space, softness around the lower part of the spine. And slowly come up to a tabletop. Bringing your knees under your hips, wrists under your shoulders, looking down at the floor. A couple of cat cows here, just to loosen off the lower back. So as you breathe, tummy to the floor, head lifts, tailbone goes back. As you breathe out, round your back, drop your head, tuck your tailbone under by pulling the tummy button into the spine. So the effect of pulling your belly button in rotates your pelvis and then pulls the tailbone under. So this is a really nice movement. Okay, and then come to a nice flat back. Straighten out your left leg, rotate the left heel down to the floor so it grounds onto the floor. Lean into your right hand, right knee. Draw the left arm out behind you and above you, and then forward. So it's all in line with your left side. You can feel that stretch of the left side. Staying here, allowing that hand almost become heavy, and the weight of that arm draws the ribs open. Really feel that stretch through the side of the body. And look down at the floor, slowly float that hand down to the floor, drop the left knee, straighten out the right leg, tuck the right toes in, rotate the right heel to the floor. Same on this side, so the weight goes down to the left side, drawing the right arm behind you, above you, and then forwards as you reach forwards and lengthen through the side of the body. And then when you get to that feeling of stretch, opening of the body, allow the arm to come even heavier and open up the ribs, feeling that sensation of stretch in the side of the body. Down at the floor, slowly returning that right hand to the floor, right knee to the floor, and then tuck the toes in, sit backwards a little bit towards your heels. Good pressure, good presence, good feeling of pressure of the hands into the floor. Then drive the knees off of the mat, drop the head between the shoulders, look back at your ankles. It's downward dog. Maybe pedaling through the legs here if you're tight in the lower legs. Really nice stretch of your back, your posterior muscles. Lift your head up slightly, slowly lower the knees to the floor. And then with the next breath in, we're going to lift the left foot off of the floor, extend the left leg at the same time, bring the right hand up to the side of the head, looking down at the floor, bring the arm to the side of the head, looking at the floor. Take a breath or two here, feeling that grounding, that stability. And then dropping the right hand to the floor, bend the left knee, bring the left knee forwards towards your left elbow, and then dropping by straightening your left leg out, dropping the heel to the floor, keeping the toes lifted. Now it's going to be a case of just feeling how you feel with this. So it's a gentle rocking forwards and backwards motion with that straight left leg, just to feel that sensation of tension in the hamstring around the back of the knee. Once you've done that a couple of times and you've loosened up again, sticking this in the back of the legs, come in for a static posture here. Find that point where it's just slightly stretching or stretching that you feel comfortable to hold, releasing around that left leg, releasing around your ankle, just feeling openness here. Come forwards a little bit, and then if you can, bring your left foot towards the top of the mat between the hands. And then steady yourself on your left knee, come to an upright position here. Can lean into this lunge by bending through the left knee, put your tummy button in, and then draw the arms up either side of the head. Stay here for a few breaths. Again, just noticing where the tension is in your body. Trying to release any muscles that have activated, contracted around, maybe around your right hip flexor. Keeping your tummy button pulled in. Because you can lower back, a lot of support here by pulling your tummy button into your spine. And you can release, soften your shoulders, almost lean back or take a back bend here, crescent lunge. And then slowly release, taking the hands down to the floor. Okay, step back into your tabletop position. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So from a tabletop position, slow breath in, lifting the right foot off of the floor, pointing the toes at the same time. The left hand comes up, left arm comes up to the side of the head. Looking down at the floor, breathe in, feeling that engagement of your core muscles. and your posterior back muscles, your hamstrings holding this posture, keeping the breath nice and steady. Turn the left hand to the floor. Bend it through the right knee to bring the knee forwards towards your right elbow, and then straighten out the right leg to drop the heel to the floor. Toes are lifted. So it's a case of just gently feeling where that tension is, rocking forwards and backwards. You might find it's tighter on one side or not so tight on one side. Keeping the toes lifted allows you to explore that tension in the hamstring. And then after you've done a few of those, settle into it, releasing any contracting muscles and just trying to feel the muscles lengthen and the connective tissues stretch, keeping the breath nice and soft. Remember, just tricking the nervous system to thinking the body's comfortable, relaxed, released. No need to tighten up. Nice, good belly breaths. And come out of that, okay? Sliding or bringing that right foot in towards the mat, towards between the front of the hands, and then slowly steady yourself on the right knee. Come upright, already pulling the tummy button in, and then float the arms out to the side and up. Looking forward, lean into the lunge, pulling your core in and exploring this crescent moon lunge. Crescent moon because the body effectively with the back leg, making that of a crescent, the shape of a crescent moon is not a really intense back bend. You have to pull your tummy button to stop your lower back hinging. And then slowly release to the floor. All the way back into a tabletop. We take the pressure off the knees, tuck the toes in, and lift up into downward dog. Just take a few breaths here, just settle into this posture. Again, a really great posture to open up through the back of the body. And then dropping down onto your knees. Chest and chin to the floor. Tops of the feet on the floor. And we're going to lift into a locust. So draw the arms down the side of the body and lift the chest away. Look down at the floor. And if you want, you can lift your legs away as well. Really activating through the back now, the lower back, and breathing softly here. And release. Hands either side of your ribcage. Push up and back into child. And we're going to make our way slowly up to standing. So tuck the toes in, take the hips backwards a little bit, and then drive into your downward dog. Bend your knees. Walk your feet to the middle of the mat, and then walk your hands back to the middle of the mat. And then we're going to just hang here. So put your tummy button in again. Let your head hang. Draw your body up so your arms are hanging in space with gravity. So you can release your shoulders, keeping your core engaged, but feeling that release across your shoulders, letting your head be heavy as well. So soften the neck. Just stay here for a couple of breaths, feeling that really nice, delightful release of your back. You can maybe rock from side to side or let your arms rotate in space. And keeping that core engaged very slowly. Come upwards. Into a standing position. Roll the shoulders back. Take the cactus position with your arms. So bringing your elbows out the side, shoulder width apart, and drawing back your shoulder blades. Okay, and then shake your arms off. Taking your feet out nice and wide. Turn your feet outwards a little. Bend your knees. Okay, and what we're going to do is just very gently go from side to side here. So keeping that movement in the hips, letting your femurs squeeze and release in the hip sockets. Just positioning your feet so you're not putting any pressure into your knees at all. Okay, knees just simply acting as hinges. And then straighten the legs out. Keep your feet pointed out 45 degrees. Breath in, lift the hands up nice and high. Breath out, bend through the knees as you come down into a wide leg squat. Breath in, lift up. Breath out, come down. Breath in, lift up. Breath out, come back down, hold. Next breath in, draw the arms out nice and wide for horse. Breath out, hands, palms together. Breath in, sweep the hands up nice and wide. Breath out, come down into wide leg squat. Breath in, taking the arms out nice and wide. Breath out, palms come together. Breath in, sweep the hands up nice and high. And breath out, come back down. One more. Breath in, horse pose. Breath out, pose in. Breath in, sweep up. Breath out, come back down. And release hands, come up, and then heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Okay, bring your feet so they're hip width apart, comfortably hip width apart. Roll forwards and backwards on your feet just to get through that movement through the feet, lifting your toes, spreading your toes, and then drive down through your right foot, lifting the left foot off of the floor, bring the sole of the foot into the calf or up into the thigh. And you can stay with your hands on your hips, or you can bring your hands to your chest or take your arms up. Just for a moment's balance here in tree pose. And release to the floor. With the breath in, lift the hands up nice and high. Exhale the hands down onto your hips. Lean down into your other foot, your left foot. Slide in the right foot up for a tree pose, wherever that is for you. Hands to your chest, or take your hands up above you. Whatever works for you. Keeping the breath nice and steady. To the floor. Take your feet out nice and wide again. Turn your feet out 45 degrees, hands on your hips, and gently go from side to side here. Just little side lunges. Nice dynamic movement. Okay, and then come to a stationary position. Turn your feet inward slightly or parallel your feet. Put your tummy button in. Take your hands out nice and wide. Hands up. Breath in. Exhale. Come forward. So take the arms behind you. Bring the head and chest forwards. Bring the hands behind you. Clasp the hands. Interlace the fingers. Slowly continue the movement downwards. Adjusting the feet position as you see fit. And then lowering your head, your chest to the floor. As you soften through the shoulders and allow the arms to release above you towards the floor. Full body release here. So it's difficult to explain, but you're actually trying to release every single muscle. And there will be muscles obviously engaged to hold this position. If you can, release around your thighs, your glutes, your shoulders. Try to use gravity to passively stretch your body. Your tummy button in, slowly elevate up. Bring your hands onto your hips and then slowly come all the way up. And then heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Come to the top of your mat. Mountain pose, feet hip width apart. Upright through the body, roll the shoulders back. Breath in, lift the hands up nice and high. Breath out, nice and flat through the back as you come into a straight leg forward bend. So taking the chest, the head towards the floor, rotating the pelvis forwards. Feel that lift of your sit bones as the tension builds in the back of the legs. Keep that continuation, that rotation continuing. Come into this forward bend here. Wherever it is for you. Doesn't matter if your hands aren't on the floor. Just go as deep as you can to feel that tension in the back of your legs. And bending the knees, walking the feet all the way to the back of the mat, onto the balls of the feet now. Slow breath in, come through into plank. You can drop to your knees if that's too much for your wrists. That's absolutely fine. You can find a plank here, engage in your core muscles. Looking down between the hands. Breathe in gently. And then wherever you are, drop to your knees. Take a breath in here. Slowly lower your chest, chin to the floor, elbows tuck in, tops of the feet on the floor. Breath in, draw the chest away, looking down at the floor, drawing the shoulders back to cobra. Take a couple of breaths here. And just feeling what's going on in the body, seeing where you can release, find some ease, but also feeling what's working, what's activating. Controlling, above all, controlling the intensity with your breath. And release to the floor. Push up onto your knees. Take child pose as you open and stretch through the back here. And then come up into tabletop, tuck the toes in, sit back a little bit and drive into your downward dog. Breath in, lift the left leg high, and then bending the knee, opening through the hip as you lift that knee up. Bring the knee in line. As you breathe out, drop the foot to the floor. As you breathe in, come through to plank or plank to knee on your knees. As you breathe out, come down to the floor, knees, chest, chin to the floor. As you breathe into cobra, draw the chest away, active through the lower back. As you breathe out to the floor. Breath in, push up onto your knees, tucking your toes in. As you breathe out, drive down through your feet to lift your hips and your knees off the floor, downward dog. Some breath here. And then breath in, lifting up the other leg for three-legged dog, bending the knee, and then opening through the hip. As you feel that hip, the glutes really working here. Keeping your good, strong foundation through that standing left foot. Bring that knee in line, drop to the floor. Again, slow breath into plank. Breath out to the floor. Breath in cobra. Breath out to the floor. Breath in, push up onto your knees. This time take child pose as you breathe out. Taking the hips back. And then come up into tabletop. Roll onto the other side now. So coming down to your lower back. And bring the knees into the chest and hugging the knees. Dropping the right foot to the floor, rest the left ankle on top of the right thigh. And we're going to come to lying pigeon or figure of fours, lifting the right foot over the floor. Wrap your hands around the back of the right thigh. Head and shoulders on the floor. Ease here and drawing that right leg forward, feeling that tension in the left hip. And stay here, 5 breaths, just feeling your way into this posture, always softening where you can. Slowly releasing that foot to the floor. Going to take a supine twist, so extend the arms out nice and wide, and then roll the pelvis, the hips down to the right side, bringing that left knee across to the right side of the mat. Lift your right hand up and draw it down. Slowly turning your head away to the left and soften through your left shoulder as you release into this posture. Turn your head, look up at the ceiling, release the knee, roll onto your back. Dropping the foot to the floor. Bring both knees up into the chest. Hug your knees, squeeze and release your knees a couple of times. This allows a little bit more of a realignment of your spine, and dropping your left foot to the floor. So right ankle on top of the left thigh, head and shoulders on the floor, and then come into this nice hip opener. You draw that leg in, find some tension and release that tension, soften any muscles that are contracting. And above all, focus on those nice, slow, steady breaths to keep it all calm. Dropping your left foot to the floor, arms out nice and wide. We take a twist on this side, so rolling the pelvis down to the left. Bringing your left arm up and anchoring, grounding that right knee down. When you find that tension to the side of the body, slowly turn your head away to your right shoulder to release your right shoulder into the ground. And look up, go that knee, roll onto your back, and then bring the knees into your chest. Again, a little bit of a back roll here. You look up to a seated position. And come into a straight leg, bent knee forward bend, one leg straight, right leg straight. And then turn and face over that straight leg, just gently lean forwards, just to that point of tension, not going too deep here. Breathe in nice, slow, soft belly breaths. Come all the way up. Take deer pose now. So with the right leg forwards, lean onto the left side, bend the right knee, and then draw your right heel in towards your bottom, and then drop the knee down. Ideally, we're looking for the sole of the left foot into the thigh. And you might find the sit bones are lifted here, or you're slightly off balance. Walk the hands forwards towards that bent left knee, and then slowly lower down, and then walk the hands around to the left. Just go to that point where you find maybe a little bit of a pull, a little bit of tension, but then release into it. Just lowering your chest, your head towards the floor. Walking your hands around if you want to go deeper. Very mild internal, external rotation of the hips. It's quite nice. If you like pigeon, you'll probably like this as well. But experiment with your range of movement here. Everybody's different. And we come out of that. So coming all the way back to a loose cross leg position. We take the left leg out nice and straight. For that straight leg forward bend to position our body over that left leg and with the chest high. So it's a lean forwards to generate some tension in the back of the leg. If it pulls in the lower back, just come back a little bit. Ideally trying to release tension around this bent knee as well and bent hip. Stretching all that tight fascia around the hips. Using the breath. Walk your hands backwards, lean down on your right so you can create space to lift that left foot off of the floor, bending the knee, pulling the heel into the bottom, positioning your legs so the sole of the foot is near the thigh. Walk hands forwards over that bent knee and then experiment with your range of movement here as you turn around to the right and lower down towards your forearms. Maybe the chest comes towards, closer to the floor. Find that tension somewhere in your QL muscle or somewhere around your spine, your back. Breathe into the belly. And slowly come out of that. Okay, come into a loose cross leg position. Only if you want, you can try fire log here. So fire log is positioning the lower legs so they're in line with the edge of the mat and then stacking the lower legs on top of each other. Okay, you might find it's impossible. You might find that you're up here, but that's okay. That's absolutely fine, because what we're going to try and do is develop a little bit of tension. Just go a little bit into that knee to find out where the tension is and hold there. So I'll right through the body, hold there. Okay. In time, as I've found, you will loosen that tightness in your hips. Okay. And it is quite a good investment of your time and your efforts. Because when you can find this posture, and then if you walk your fingertips forwards, if you have got the range of movement and you're okay in far log, walking your fingertips forwards and bringing the pelvis into forward rotation, and you come a little bit deeper. And even there, that's good. Doesn't matter if you're not here yet, but this is where you can get to with time, with practice. Another thing you can do is gentle twist from one side to the other. Just develop the posture. But again, be patient. If it's not there for you as yet, practice, practice. And we go again on the other side. One thing I would say about these fire logs is keeping your feet bent at all time, keeping your ankles bent at all time. I mean, keeping your ankles flexed. This takes the criticality away from the knees. So the ankle flex, it means you're reducing the risk of any knee problems in this posture. Obviously, if you find it's too much shear pressure on your knees, then don't do it. It's not what it's about. This is a stretch of the connective tissue around your glutes, around your hips, where it all become quite tight. And in time, when you loosen that connective tissue off in your hips, it will protect your knees. Most of the knee problems, ACL cruciate ligament problems of that sheer twist of the knee is because there isn't enough mobility higher up in the hips. So the knee takes most of the strain. So it's a great investment. Okay, coming out of that then, come down onto your back, your lower back. Take a happy baby here, just to squeeze and release the hips once more, and then drop into reclined cobbler. So drop the feet to the floor, ankles, knees together, and then rotate your hips outwards to bring the soles of the feet together, really properly releasing the hips with gravity now. Nice passive stretch. Head and shoulders are on the floor, so you can release your shoulders, rest your hands on your tummy. And I would say simply just stay here with belly breath. Just feel what's going on in the hips and enjoy that sense of release with gravity. Maybe you position your toes to part that each toe touches the opposite toe. And just feel what's going on in the body here. As you breathe down into the bottom of your lungs. It's a diaphragmatical breath. So it's almost like you've got a balloon in your tummy that you inflate with each breath in. Feel the tummy rise and fall. This is stimulating your rest, digest, nervous system response, but it's also massaging your lower back and your digestive system. It's a great posture to train your diaphragmatic breath. When I say train it, because most of us default to upper chest breathing. So use this posture to reacquaint yourself with good breath. You breathe in and out through your nose if that's accessible for you. Take a count of 3 count in, 6 count out. So breath in, 1, 2, 3. Breath out, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So try to work that breath out that works for you. Into the belly, in and out through the nose, and release in your hips. And then very slowly bring your knees closer together now. So slide on your feet to the bottom corners of the mat, but continue with this breath. Hands on belly, diaphragmatic breath. Breath in for a count of X, breath out for a count of 2X. Twice as long on the breath out as the breath in. Breathe in and out through your nose into your tummy area. Your current breath, as you breathe out, you reach the end of that breath out. You can revert to normal breath. Slowly bring your knees up towards your chest. Squeeze and release your knees a couple of times. And come up to a seated position. Okay, thanks if you made it all the way through and you found some of that useful. And if you've got any questions around types of postures that are good for parts of your body, then please drop me an email. I do this thing on my one-to-ones where I do an assessment of people's ranges of movement. And it's really informative because it allows us to understand where we're tight. Most of us know pretty much where we're tight, but do we know to what degree we're tight? And it's quite handy. But other than that, enjoy your yoga, and I'll post some more videos up on the channel in due course. Thanks very much.